The Jim Davis Show on Colorado's sports leader, The Team.
Welcome back, 827. Jim along with the Buckeye Boy, our Coors Original Colorado Sports Challenge question coming up. Still plenty of time to vote today, tomorrow, for a Western Slope High School Football Showdown. The matchup today out of the Corn region is the 2005 Grand Junction Tigers, 4A state runner-ups that year, losing in the title game to Thudner Ridge against the 2004 3A state champion Rifle Bears. He was the defensive coordinator back when they won the state title, but Damon Wells, now the head coach of the Rifle Bears, will join us coming up in a little bit. But with us right now, former Grand Junction Tigers head coach, former Fruita-Monument head coach, Central head coach, and now the coach at Eagle Crest, Shawn Marsh, joins us on the Chick-fil-A Breakfast Team phone line. Shawn, how are you doing? I hope you and the family are well.
We are, yeah. Thank you, Jim. And it's getting long, to say the least. But I've been busy. We've got it's been really actually good football wise for me because there's a lot of things that I've really wanted to do as far as getting stuff online for the kids and character development and the mental part of the game, and I've really been forced to do that, and so we've got it's been really good as far as that. So I think our teaching for the game of football, as far as me and my staff, is getting better and gotten better because of being forced to do stuff online.
So you found a little silver lining in this whole thing. A little time to do some of those things you didn't have the time to do before. That's great.
Yeah, and really being forced into it. I think that you got to take advantage of these things and do try to find the positive in it. And the positive for us has been that we now have our playbook on a platform that the kids can look at on their phone, and so I think we've updated and are doing some stuff that's turned out to be for me and my programs turned out to be okay.
Well, congratulations on a very successful season at Eagle Crest last year. Didn't win a state title, but still a really, really good year for your football program.
Yeah, it was, and it was definitely different. It was fun. It was. I ended up. I had a great group of coaches that I was able to work with, and really enjoyed the kids, and they were very receptive to a new head coach. And at Eagle Crest, I went in and I was the fourth coach in 3 years there, and so a great group of kids, and really had an enjoyable year. And I was really lucky because Pete Cyphers went with me, and that makes when you have somebody like Pete that's your rock that you've coached with forever, that really makes it nice in your transition. And then I had Max with me also, so those two things made a big difference.
And Sean Emerson, who of course is from here in the Valley, Sean's been over at Eagle Crest for a while as a teacher and coach, and that helped to have him part of that group as well.
Well, yeah, Sean was a graduate at Grand Junction High School, and Sean student taught with me at Grand Junction High School and coached with me way back when we were working for Rocky. And so Sean's been at Eagle Crest now for 18 years, and what a solid, great guy. And he's one of my favorites, and he's back in Grand Junction right now with his family during this time. And then another guy that I hadn't worked with for years that was from Cortez, used to be the head wrestling coach at Cortez, Sparky Adair. And Sparky's a teacher over at Eagle Crest, and so it's really neat how many reconnections that you end up having, and when you work with a different group like that.
Former Grand Valley coach Shawn Marsh joining us. We're going to talk about the 05 Tigers in a moment, but I do want to ask about your son Max, who's your quarterback, of course, at Central, and last year at Eagle Crest. The plan still, everything. How's it shaping up for him to go to Kansas State? That's the place that he said he planned to go and play his college football. This has certainly had an impact on him, hasn't it, in regard to his preparations for that?
It has. He left. He was an early grad, and so he enrolled at Kansas State the first part of January. He graduated one week and enrolled at Kansas State the next week, and then it's really been okay for Max too. He was able to be there for 9 or 10 weeks. He came home for spring break, and they were going to start spring football the next week, and came home with a backpack full of clothes and wasn't able to go back. But the great thing is that he already had, he'd spent 9 or 10 weeks in the program, knows the coaches, and they really they do a great job at teaching online also, and the NCAA has bumped up their time they can spend with kids. I think they get eight hours a week now, and his quarterback meetings, he meets twice a day for for an hour on each of those meetings, and they go through the playbook, and it's been really good for Max. He loves it, and he's really excited, and the coaching staff there, I couldn't say enough about them, the way they bring kids in and make them feel at home, and that's a big key to being successful in college, is liking where you're at and being able to stay there for the long haul.
We wish him the very best of luck now at Kansas State with their football program. Shawn Marsh joining us today on the Jim Davis Show on the team. We're having our Western Slope High School football showdown. The matchup today is your 2005 Grand Junction Tigers, Shawn, against the 2004 Rifle Bears. And back in 2005, your team went 13-1. The only loss, unfortunately, for the Tigers was in that state title game over at Invesco Field at Mile High against Thunder Ridge. But when I look back to that team, Isaiah Quigley at quarterback, could throw it all over the place, really great in the quarterback run game. Chris Means was just such a bull at the running back spot for you. Had two really standout receivers in Justin Murray and Shea Starr. I mean, that was an offense loaded with weapons for you back in 2005.
We were really a good football team, and that group, it started with that group with their lifting efforts and stuff. I remember when we were first. When those guys came in as freshmen, and we got them into the weight room, and they loved the weight room, and they got in the weight room and they competed. And, I remember Isaiah as a quarterback. Man, he was strong and just loved the weight room, and they were a group that had a lot of confidence. They were confident, and many people would say they were very arrogant, but they played with confidence, and they truly believed that they could beat everyone, and they were a very tight, close-knit team. And you always hear that there's got to be something special, and I remember that year just like it was yesterday. I remember starting at the beginning of the year, and as we came up with our core values, and we did our pyramid of success, and I even remember the lesson when we went through and did all of it, because that was definitely a special year, and the way those kids worked made it special.
I mean, you averaged over 40 points per game. And with those guys that I just mentioned, understandably so, but also, obviously, you have to have a really talented offensive line in front and of those guys, and certainly you had that back in 2005 with that unit.
We did. We had big kids, and they were strong. The first play of the game of our season, we were playing against Arvada, and at that time we were running the shotgun, and we were running the spread offense, and I remember starting that with Rocky helping me do it from Glenwood, and Rocky was friends with head coach with Urban Meyer, and anyways, so I think it was somewhat unique at that point, even and I'll remember our first play of the game was a bubble screen that we threw to Mark Novotny for like 65 yards against Arvada, and then I think we came back, and the second play of the game was another 60-some yard touchdown. So right at that point, I thought, man, this could be an okay season.
Shawn Marsh, former Grand Junction Tigers football coach, with us today on the Jim Davis Show on the team. You mentioned Mark Novotny, what a talented athlete he was, but unfortunately, injury that season cut his season shorter than you'd planned on it being.
Yeah, and Mark had a great high school career, and he went up to CSU and played football at CSU, and is very successful right now. But he was an athlete, and I just think of all the athletes that we had, and Jake Simonton was one of the fastest kids that I've ever been able to coach, and Jake could run, and Josiah, and Shea and Justin Murray, and then up front we had big kids too that were strong, and it was neat because one of the kids, Justin Reed and Chris Means, both coached for me at Central, and I love that, being able to coach kids that had played for me, and Kevin Ballard, he played and he was on that team at and he's a teacher at Central High School. So those kind of things are really neat for me to watch the kids as they've grown up, and then the ones that want to come back and coach. That says a lot, and I love that part of it.
Former Tigers coach Shawn Marsh with us today on the Jim Davis Show on the team, and as much as that offensive unit you had was so explosive, averaging over 40 points per game, Shawn, let's flip it to the defensive side, because it was not exactly chopped liver either. I mean, that Arvada game you mentioned, you won that first game of the season 46-0, held Greeley Central to a touchdown, Loveland to a touchdown. Fountain Fort Carson to just 13 points. Chatfield is 14 points. Sand Creek to just 7. Durango to 7. Held Fruita to 10. Montrose, who you played twice that season, once, of course, in the regular season, the playoffs, held them to 14 points in that regular season matchup. And in league play, that defensive unit, in many ways, is every bit as good as your offensive group.
Well, championships are won on defense, and the offensive part of it was fun. But boy, Daryl Simonton was, he was our defensive coordinator, and Daryl just very aggressive, and we had kids that could play man coverage and in our secondary, and Justin Reed was one of probably the strongest high school kid I've ever met, and Justin played up front for us, and just very, very, very strong, and it was the Clay Gertman. We were very good up front, and then we had Means and Novotny and those kids as linebackers, and so we could do a lot of things, and we could put a lot of pressure on people, and talent-wise, I was just it was I look back on it, man, it was one of the most talented teams I've ever been able to coach. It was something, and defensively it was very fun because boy, they got after it, and they loved playing defense, and that was one of the times that the kids, they played both ways too. I've looked at that picture. I still have that team picture, and I looked at it and I saw most of those kids played both ways, didn't come out of the game, and they loved the game of football, and that was fun.
Brewers opened up the playoffs with the win against Adams City, 48-12. Won at Montrose, 41-25. Beat Ralston Valley here in the semifinal at Stoker, 36-16. And then you got the honor to be one of the first two teams, along with Thunder Ridge, to square off at then Invesco Field in Mile High in the 4A state championship game. First time ever that the state title game was played at Invesco Field.
And what an awesome thing! And there were so many things about that weekend that I'll remember forever, and my family will remember. And it was so cold, and I remember the bus was planning on going over the Saturday to take the band and a bunch of the kids from the high school and stuff, and because of the roads they couldn't make it over, and so lots of unique things. And one of the things I'll never forget is we went in for a pre-game type of meeting on I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and Dave Logan was there with his team, and Douglas County, he was with Mullen and Douglas County and Thunder Ridge, and they were talking about how many kids they were bringing in, and they each brought in like 100 kids to the game, and they asked how many we were bringing. I said, well, 45, that's what we travel. So that was unique, but it was cool for our kids to be able to be in that atmosphere, and we were the first team that ever played high school team, us and Thunder Ridge, in that stadium, and we'll always have that.
Yeah, sadly, the game did not go, as they were calling it that day, didn't go the way we hoped it would for your football team. Thunder Ridge with a 51-21 victory. They got up on top early, Shawn, and you guys just couldn't recover from that.
Yeah, we couldn't, and there were. I still remember, and I don't know if you remember it. We had a flea flicker right at the beginning of the game, and if we were within inches of completing that pass to Justin Murray, and I think if that would have won, I think it could end up being a different outcome. You always hope, but it just didn't work out for us that day. And Thunder Ridge was a good team. They were a great team actually, and I still think that in that 4A game that Thunder Ridge or Grand Junction, we could have played with either of the 5A teams at that at that time. That's how strongly I believed in our kids, and Thunder Ridge was they had great athletes also, and they were very well coached, and they were like our kids. They were confident, and I think part of it is they were able to play in their backyard. They got on a chartered bus and rode from Highlands Ranch down to Invesco, and our kids, we had a little bit of more of a challenging night and stuff trying to get there and get ready for that game, but it didn't turn out even close to how we wanted. But our kids never did give up, and they fought. Their effort was awesome.
Yeah, it was still a fantastic, very talented team. A lot of fun to call the games that year. Hey, Shawn, great catching up with you. Hope you and your family stay healthy and safe. Best of luck to Max going forward at Kansas State, and best of luck to you and your staff over at Eagle Crest this coming football season. I appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, guys.
All right. Shawn Marsh, former Grand Junction Tigers coach. So there